All right, welcome back to another WrightStew Podcast. I am Paul Stewart.
And I am Brian Wright, and we are on Tuesday, the second, I guess technically the third day of the week. I really think of it as the second day of the week, usually.
Yeah, Monday's the first day. If you say Sunday is, you're wrong.
Well, I don't know. I feel like, the first day is the Lord's Day, right? I feel like you would be more apt to call, Tuesday the third day, opposed to, everybody else. I don't know. I mean, I agree. It feels definitely like the second day. But Sunday is kind of, it feels like you're kind of getting ready to roll too. So it's a little bit confusing, I'll tell you what else is confusing. I come home from lunch working today, and I saw baseball on MLB Network.
Yeah, the old Patriots Day game in Boston.
Dude, and I don't even know how you knew that was even a thing.
Well, because I was with the Red Sox organization, and I'm a baseball nerd, Brian.
Well, tell me this: do they do it at all levels, or
no? Every year the Red Sox have a day game. They start it now at 11:11.
Yep.
And they play. They also run the Boston Marathon the same day, so it's just like this whole big. Man, it's a really fun day, a really exciting day. I mean, we did spend that 1 year in New England, right? I was in Rhode Island for the AAA season, and it was just a really kind of a special day in the New England Boston area, and kind of a big celebration. Uh, and then the one year they had the bombings there, and that was, man, just like a really terrible, tragic thing. Anytime you have something like that going on, but it really rallied the city together, and they went Boston strong and all that. But outside of that, though, man, really just a fun event, a fun day. I've had a few friends that actually ran the Boston Marathon as well, and they said it's just a great experience. And man, day baseball, man, early morning baseball. I could go for a morning game every day. I think that's something baseball should institute. Like every team, every day of the week, there should be like an 11:30, 12 o'clock start. I would be into
I
it.
think Boston is the only one. Like I wasn't surprised because there's been situations where somebody's missed a game later in the season and they play like a doubleheader and it's a getaway day.
Yeah,
So
that's usually like a 1 o'clock start.
But it is, yeah, absolutely. But dude, rarely is the place packed the way Fenway was, and so the place was packed. And obviously, you were fully aware of it. Did you get a chance to see any of the game or not?
Yeah, we had it on. My son was home today as well, so we kind of watched a couple innings of it, and I had to do some work and just kind of bouncing back and forth. But Walker Buehler had a really strong start. It was interesting because I know you were talking about Pedroia earlier, but Walker Buehler actually rented a hotel room for the night and had his family there because he didn't want to deal with all the traffic driving in from his more suburban home. Because he's like, oh man, I don't know what streets are going to be shut down, what it's going to look like. So they went ahead and got a hotel like in the city. And
I think that's really forward thinking, using your money the right way.
Yeah.
And you were speaking of Pedroia, so I was listening to Tim Kirch, and he was talking on, I guess it was on Instagram, and him and his son do a podcast, and it's really good, and they sound just alike, which is kind of odd. And so they were talking about Pedroia, and Pedroia always got to games 8 hours ahead of time. And so on Patriots Day, this 11 o'clock game or 11:11, he would get there at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I thought, that seems extreme. And it seems, I appreciate the discipline, but I just can't imagine you got a good night's rest. There's just other things you could be doing, other things you could adjust in your schedule, but it's hard to argue with what he got out of his ability and his body.
Did they say what he did? I mean, most guys get to the field. I guess for a 7 o'clock game, you're usually getting there around 2:30. So he was getting there around. Most games start at 7, right? So he was getting there at like 11 in the morning every day. Is that
yes? He said he lived, and I can't remember the player, but he lived in the neighborhood with another player, and the player was going to grab breakfast, like brunch, kind of breakfast deal at like 11 o'clock, and like asking him, it's like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm going to the field. And this player was like, well, I'm going to get breakfast. And so, again, I think the routine, I totally respect the routine and the commitment to it. And so another routine that I've heard about here recently that's kind of hit my algorithm on Instagram is Paul Skeens has a 2 hour pregame pitching routine. 2 hours. And it's mostly stretching, a little bit of, the water ball and that water tube.
Yeah, kind of
But
activate whatever he activates there. Yeah.
I guess he started doing it at LSU. He saw great gains. He's like, and one of the things that I've spoken to, and I use this saying a lot, but don't get bored getting better. And he's like, don't let boredom prevent you from being better. And so it's kind of a play on the same thing. So I appreciated that too. But I was curious, how long was your pre-pitch routine before you got ready when you were a starter? Obviously, when you're a reliever, it's different. But when you were a starter, how long did it take you kind of to feel like, all right, I
Yeah.
start 45 minutes ahead? What was yours?
I was usually to head towards the bullpen. I left the clubhouse at like for a home start when I knew I was first 35 minutes prior to the game, and then when I was on the road 30 minutes because you got a little more time right leading up to it. So yeah, man, I didn't do. I was never a guy who was in the training room getting stretched by the trainer. I was never like a hot pack guy. I was never getting rubbed down. Nothing like that before the game. I was pretty much kind of a get dressed, head down to throw up in the hallway somewhere, then head out to the field. Kind of sit in the bullpen for a second, gather myself, and then got to start stretching. Running, doing that sort of thing, and then start throwing and just get into the bullpen routine, and then I think my bullpen routine was typically between like 46 and 51 pitches to get loose for the game, and then go out there and throw
So
for as long as I
you would
could.
throw. What would you stretch yourself out to before the game? How far are you stretching out your throwing? You think before the game, as far as
A pretty
working
good
out?
long toss to make sure the arm is nice and loose, man. Just get it out there. Not full ball. Yeah, well, probably a couple throws at kind of max distance to really make sure I'm ready, and then
That
bring it in,
makes
but
sense.
not too terrible. Not like I'm trying to build on that day, right? But just to make sure it's nice and loose.
So now, looking back, obviously with the technology today and everything that we know or think we know, would there be anything that you would do differently now?
I mean, I guess if I'm growing up in this era and have the technology, and they're telling me that if I'm doing these stretching routines, it's going to add 3 miles, 5 miles an hour different. Why not try it, right? Why not do something different? But the other thing too is, and what Walker Bueller mentioned as well is, yeah, he's like, I had my iPad the night before, like I always do at home. I was studying the hitters. I knew the lineup, through and through. I knew what the game plan was. Yeah, and we didn't have any of that technology either, right? And we did some kind of pseudo, like before every series, we would have a pitchers and catchers meeting to talk about who we were facing. And again, I've talked about this before. I've never, I wasn't a huge fan of like scouting reports because it's like, oh, this guy, he has a tough time with change ups. I'm like, well, I don't throw a change up, so like,
Right.
doesn't everybody? You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Good ones for sure. Yeah. No,
yeah.
that's 100%.
But no, man, growing up in this, I don't know, man. I don't know how I would do with a lot of the technology. I haven't wholeheartedly embraced it. I don't think either of us have as coaches, right? Because I think what I'm finding at least is a lot of the stuff that they're finding out is stuff that you and I already knew. They're just renaming it. They're kind of
Yeah.
they're kind of putting a genus and a species to it, right? It's like, oh, here's what this is, and this is why this happens. Like, oh yeah, well, yeah, I knew that because my ball moved more because I stepped across my body. Like, yeah, I knew that, but now you're giving me like the biological reasons or physical reasons why. Stop.
No, that makes sense. I'll speak to this and just in all the videography that, again, I know I've spoken on the clubhouse way too much, but one of the things I thought was interesting, they were literally talking about, hey, we want to get this ball, they're working on a changeup. And it's like, hey, we put your finger here. We need 10 more degrees. We need this seam to be 10 more degrees in this angle to be able to create the movement that we want on the changeup. And I just thought, are we serious? I mean, I guess we are to that point, but it just seemed like, I mean, that was a conversation with a pitcher that was a big league pitcher as their video and everything and analyzing everything to death was, hey, we need this seam to move this direction 10 more degrees. Put your finger here. And I was just like, wow, that's incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, that seemed like a lot. And I remember one of those episodes too. They're talking about like, oh, if you could get this pelvic movement when your pelvis does this, I'm like, come on, man, like that's like what are we talking about? Pelvic movement? Come on, like it seemed like a lot. And dude, knowing and not to disparage anybody's education or upbringing, but man, you and I play with a lot of guys. They ain't that smart, man. They're not.
No.
They're not. They're like, just let me throw the ball hard. Let me throw it. You know.
I kind of think that. Then part of me is like, maybe these kids are smarter. And I'm very much on the kind of idea, especially from a hitter standpoint, hey, feel your body. Don't just feel it when you don't swing well. Feel it when you do swing well. So I can kind of appreciate, maybe not the pelvic movement,
Yeah.
but how do you feel whenever you square a ball up? How do you feel whenever you don't square and recognize, hey, are you truly, like, it's natural for a hitter for the hands to move up, move down a little bit. You open up that front shoulder just a little bit, which throws off kind of everything. When you load, you're not getting to the same spot. And so I am very much into the small details. But, man, I just thought, all right, we're going to move this seam 10 degrees, and that's going to make that big of a difference. Yeah, so anyway.
Yeah,
it was
and with all the
interesting.
technology and all the stuff, I mean, maybe it is helping pitching more because averages are down. But I mean, I don't know, dude. It's just a lot, and when you get into the heat of battle out there, I think it kind of gets back to like kind of just man versus man. My best stuff versus your best stuff. Let's see who can win this thing. And
But as a baseball nerd, I'm kind of surprised that it feels like you would be hesitant to embrace it, which may have been different if you grew up in this time. But if you'd had that knowledge then, even I feel like you would have been somebody that would have embraced it because you were kind of looking for that edge. You're looking for things to make you better. Or do you not think you would have? You're like, nah, this is too much. We're
well,
just
I
muddying
mean,
up the
growing
weeds.
up now, like I said, it's kind of what the young players now know, whether it's baseball or softball, whatever it is. This is what they're being taught. And again, I look back to it like, all right, who's teaching this? Is it? And again, I don't want to be the guy who says like if you didn't play the game, you can't teach it, right? But there is something to that as well. And I've mentioned it a few times. Some of these people who never played treat the players like they're playing MLB The Show.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna push X and you're gonna throw it 98 miles an hour, and there's no repercussions. I'll just and when it's your time's done, I'll get the guy heated up in the bullpen, and I'll get him going, and I'll press square, and that'll be a split. And dude, that's not. These are real living people with muscles and ligaments, and um, and-
Brains and minds and the whole shebang.
yeah,
Hey, so doing this, jumping completely different subjects. We got a pretty big, I'm not big on it, but I think it's worth a discussion. I feel like the draft is coming up, and there's all this talk about who's going to be the first overall pick, who's going to be the second, where is Shador going to go. So what do you envision? Is there anything that you are curious to see?
nah, I mean, I guess where Shador goes, the quarterback. The quarterback drafts are always kind of like the most interesting because I think those are the ones like when an edge rusher gets picked, it's like, oh, this guy's probably going to be good for 10 years in the NFL, or I mean, it rarely do it seem like they miss on that, but quarterbacks kind of the most kind of movie star, kind of biggest spotlight sort of thing.
And so I think we touched on it. I think we talked about them retiring Shador and Travis
And
Hunter's
Hunter after
number
only 2 years at
after
Colorado,
2 years. I've heard arguments on both sides of that, but let's go and make a prediction. Are Shador and Travis Hunter future NFL Hall of Famers? Like worth the squeeze or worth the smell or whatever the term is. Are
I
they?
think I think Travis Hunter has a much better path to that, especially being, I mean, with the potential of playing two positions, maybe throwing in even like returning kicks or something in there as well, right? Um, I think he has a much better path. I think he's like a legitimate like Pro Bowl slash All Pro DB within a couple years.
Oh, so you're making that prediction?
Yeah, I mean he's great, man. He's really good. Um, Shador, quarterbacks are, man. You go back to all the different quarterbacks who've played and got drafted and really high picks and quote unquote can't miss prospects, and it feels like it's a coin flip, man. Like you just don't know who's going to pan out and who won't. I mean, you look at some of the guys who've been drafted, like Brock Purdy was, the last pick in the entire draft. He's done pretty well in the Niners, and a lot of it is if a quarterback gets picked really high, that means that team was really bad.
For sure, for
You know what
sure.
I mean? And it's going to take more than one really dynamic quarterback to change those things. It's going to take probably some line help, probably some defensive help, those sort of things. And I don't know, man. If I'm building a team, I probably honestly take Abdul Carter first, the Penn State defensive end, the edge rusher.
Ooh,
And
interesting.
well, I mean, and right now he's predicted on most boards to go third to the Giants. And do you remember what the Giants did when they were really good?
They rushed the quarterback.
They got
They had,
after the quarterback, right?
yeah, Pierre before he blew his hand off, and he had
Yeah.
another guy on the other side, but
Oh, Michael
he was,
Strahan, yeah.
yeah, was pretty dynamic duo. It's interesting in such a passing league. The things that get, I don't want to say overlooked, but really, if you're building a team, like you can win with above average quarterback play if you have an above average line and above average defense, right? And so the quarterback is something everybody thinks you got to get right, and you do to some extent. But there's only, I would say, like one guy a generation, maybe two or three, but not many, where the quarterback would be successful no matter where they went. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of quarterbacks are successful in conjunction with the offense, the support around him, the O coordinator, the tool, the weapons that they put around him. There's some other ancillary
Yeah.
items that have that impact.
Well, you mentioned Drew Brees the other day. I think Drew Brees is one of those guys. But we talked about Dante Culpepper. I mean, the Dolphins thought Culpepper was that guy. He was
Yeah,
not that guy. He had Randy Moss and Chris Carter and a good team around him. And you see that happen a lot. Jimmy Garoppolo left New England to go to San Francisco. That didn't work out over there. Oh gosh, who was the guy? Oh, Matt Flynn. Do you remember Matt Flynn?
oh yeah, he got paid, dude. He got
Man,
paid, and then Russ Wilson came
he
in and took
had
the shot.
two good games in Green Bay, and then Seattle's like, let's back up the truck. Matt Flynn's our guy. He's our future. And then Russell Wilson beat him out like for the starting position out of camp. It wasn't even close. And so that happens, I think, yeah,
Yeah, I
more
really
often
think
than
there's a
not.
handful of guys. There's a handful of quarterbacks that would be successful regardless. But a lot of them need a lot of help or need some help at least. All of them are talented though. I mean, have you ever been around a guy like maybe that played like college football or played, even if it's D2 or D3, and then
Oh, dude.
actually threw like football with them
We
before?
did yeah, so at my old work, we did like for fun, we had like a little flag football tournament, I guess, or game. A few games out there with just like kind of the sales floor. And a guy named Drew Dudzig. So he played quarterback at JMU. So James Madison University. And you remember when JMU beat Virginia Tech? This is probably, gosh, 12, 13 years ago now.
Oh, for sure. Well, I remember. I couldn't name what year it actually
Yeah, so
happened,
it
but I
was
definitely
maybe it
remember
was
the
around
event.
2010, 11 in that time frame. Anyway, so Drew was the quarterback of that JMU team that beat Virginia Tech, which was a big upset at the time. And so he actually was a colleague of mine. Like we were on the same team. And we were on flag football, and he was playing quarterback. And dude, the ball just it came out of his hand different.
Oh,
It was-
dude, and he's not even a guy who could make it. That's what I was going to say. I was around a D3, and I can't remember the guy's name. I should, but a D3 quarterback. And so, dude, not even D1 AA or whatever we're calling JMU Bowl Championship Series or
yeah,
whatever. But dude, the ball, dude, they could just throw the piss out of it, and it's
yeah,
not. I mean, it's just different. I mean, than anything I'd ever seen, and I
yeah,
think you would kind of attest to that, even as somebody that threw an object for a living.
yeah. And the mechanics of it are different. Like the way the arm path is, and the wrist movement and things, and the way the thumb turns. Like it's the mechanics are way different than I can throw a football pretty good. Like I've thrown my fair share of touchdowns in flag football tournaments, but it's just kind of more brute force. There's no mechanics behind it. It's almost like a catcher, shorter arm slot, bring it to the ear and just chuck it, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, all I was saying was it's just different, and there's a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
guys that have. There's a lot of guys who have like that skill,
yeah,
and there's only a handful that are just big enough, physically enough, tough enough, have the quick enough processing, have enough athletic ability. I mean, and then out of that group, there's only a couple ever so often that are truly. So I kind of lean towards back to the original question. Shador has had all the advantages, and I'm just not sure somebody that's kind of been. It feels like the training wheels have always been on when he's played, and not that he didn't play real competition at Colorado, not that he didn't play real competition at Jacksonville, but it felt like everything was always kind of aligned in his favor.
yeah.
And
Honestly, dude, I think the best thing, I don't say best thing, but I think what would be very advantageous to him, slip into the second round or late first round, go to a team that's better, right? Let's say like a Steelers or something like that. Get around a true organization that knows how to win. Sit back a year, be on the get a bigger chip on your shoulder, and then come out with 1 year under your belt of knowledge, experience, learning, that sort of thing. I think if he's thrust into a starting position, it doesn't go as well as
no,
if
I
he
don't
gets
think
a
it
little
does either.
time.
He holds on to the ball too long. I think he's going to have some real trouble with the speed, and I think a lot of people have trouble with it.
Yeah.
And I think he can process fast enough, but I just think it is just such a sped up clock. And then if you have a below average line, the clock speeds up even more. You throwing balls away, and then what I'm curious about, not necessarily him eventually getting it, but how does he handle the failures? Does he, as a rich kid who's kind of grown up with every advantage, does he throw teammates under the bus? Does he blame management, blame coaches? Or, like most people that have gotten to this position, had to fight through some adversity and look at themselves in the mirror and say, I've got to be better.
Yeah.
Is he capable of doing that? Is he capable of looking in the mirror and say, I've got to be better? Which I think your great quarterbacks and great leaders do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, his dad, like you would think, his dad probably, hopefully, instilled some of that in him, and his dad was Dion was just such an athlete. I mean, just such a great athlete, and could do so many things that other people couldn't. And yeah, hopefully, he instilled that kind of mentality in him. And
I don't know if you can instill it.
yeah,
I think it's developed. It's my only would be my only argument. But again I think that is the story that won't be answered by this draft, other than where he goes. But it's
yeah,
going to be interesting to see how it actually turns out, and where Travis ends up, and if somebody really wants to use him as a two-way, and is even going to be more interesting just because there
yeah.
is so much more that you got to know.
Well, the Browns said they would use him as a two-way, and it looks like Cam Ward is going to go first to Tennessee. Is kind of where it's shaping up, and that leaves Hunter to the Browns, and they said they use him on both sides of the ball. So we'll see how that
Very
shapes
good.
out. All right, Brian, did you see Jared Kelenic, the Braves outfielder? Did you see the highlight? I guess the low light of him hitting the ball off the wall and then getting thrown out at second base.
I did, and I saw Abreu, not Abreu. I saw who was center fielder towards ACL. They're a really good player for the Braves.
Acuna.
Acuna be like, well, I guess it's not the same for everybody. And so clearly he remembered when he did that, got benched, hit a single.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw it. I've been that guy. I didn't get thrown out. I slid in the second, but I wasn't in the big leagues, and I was safe. But
Well, I remember
I saw
your
it.
manager got into you about it. Like,
Oh yeah,
he's like,
He
who
ran
the heck
my
do you
ass,
think you are?
rightfully
Yeah.
so. Yeah, and rightfully so. And I don't know. What was your thoughts on it? I did see it. I thought it was. I don't want to say overblown in the right word, but I was surprised they didn't bench him just for the effect.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You see that stuff kind of happen all the time, and as a pitcher, I'm happy if somebody's acting like a fool out there, not hustling, right? But just from a teaching perspective, it's that man hustle out of the box until you know that ball's over the wall, and then once you get to be really good, or if you hit a no doubter, if you're hitting the ball 450, sure, man, walk that thing all you want. But if you're hitting it, 375. You might want to start running a little bit. Yeah, ultimately, I don't know if it costs them the game or not, but yeah, I'm one to promote hustling, I guess, and promote getting. Yeah, that's an easy double. That's an easy stand up double, and then yeah, 'cause, yeah, he had a runner in front of him, so he's probably not pushing for three on that. But yeah, man, I'm all about kind of giving it all you have.
It happens. I'll say this. It happens, especially, again, they haven't played 100 games yet, but later in the season, or a deal that, bad judgment a lot of ways. You got to judge. You got to know when the ball's going out if you're going to jog. But, I think it's a kind of a lot about nothing. It's a one-off situation. Probably never happens again to him. But I did think Acuna, still remembering when he got benched, it was kind of funny too.
Yeah, you don't forget those sort of things. All right, Brian. One more question for you. So last night, my daughter, my 7-year-old. So I made dinner. I made a nice little chuck roast in the crock pot. Had mashed potatoes, some mixed vegetables, and she barely ate any of it because she's 7. But
Oh,
later she goes, Dad, I want some boiled chicken.
ooh.
Yeah, she said boiled chicken.
Oh, it's like she's an old,
I don't
reincarnated, like
know.
old English woman.
So she says she want a boiled chicken because my wife cooks a few times a year, and one of the things she makes is one of her mom's old recipes. It's like a chicken casserole, and it has you boil the chicken, then you shred it, then you put it in with cream of mushroom and some other things, right? It's really good. But she made it last week, and she gave our daughter just like some of the plain chicken, and she was like, "This is the best chicken I've ever had." And I was like, "Huh." So
I had to hit your soul a little bit. I'm not a huge boiled chicken fan. I can eat almost, any yard bird at any particular time. I'm available for consuming, but
yeah,
that is not my preferred method
no, that's
of
not that's
eating.
not. So she wanted boy. So I was like, all right, well let's get. And she wanted s'mores.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, well, let's go to the store. Went and grabbed a little pack of chicken for her boiled chicken, and then grabbed our s'mores. I'm not. I'm not a big fan of s'mores, Brian. It may not be a popular take. Not a huge fan.
I feel like they used to do this thing. I don't remember if it's on TV or what. It's like properly rated, underrated, overrated.
Yeah,
And I would absolutely put this as overrated. I mean, first of all, you get either marshmallow or chocolate all over you. Both
yeah,
of those things are better by themselves, not together. It's not peanut butter and jelly. When I went to the Cape League for the first time, I was a huge peanut butter consumer for a long period of time.
yeah.
And up there, they do a lot of peanut butter and fluff sandwiches,
Oh, I've
which
heard of
is
that.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, it just, so that was like peanut butter fluff, peanut butter fluff. And so I got into it and tried to embrace it. Still not as good as jelly. I'd say marshmallow in general is probably an overrated item, it don't even feel like, I mean, I couldn't even tell you what is marshmallow made out of. What is marshmallow?
I would
I
imagine
think
it's
it
a
was
lot
probably
sugar.
yeah, byproduct of something that was, they realized they couldn't use, so they sort of sell. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it really should be consumed by humans. But I'm not a huge s'mores. Absolutely, I like chocolates. I can handle marshmallows, cooked, especially if they're kind of charred over an open fire in the right environment. I don't care for them together. And dude, they get so messy. And yeah, I'm not completely overrated. I would much rather have like a weenie fried over a fire opposed to like a s'more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'd probably definitely rather have some sort of meat product over a. I mean, I do like make. Yeah, this was our first kind of s'more. Yeah, of the summer, I guess, and it was nice. Kind of, it's probably warmer than I thought it would be out there, but nice. Nice evening for it, and yeah,
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess the memories you make around it. I think maybe people
yeah,
have better memories. It wasn't something honestly that I consumed a ton of when I was a kid. So maybe I think maybe as adults, people that still care for it, maybe it's because of it takes them back to a different time, a youth, a good experience. But I have no memory or no ties to s'mores, and so it's just not that. It's just overrated. Overrated.
yeah.
Again, I'm a chocolate consumer, and I'll even eat marshmallows occasionally, but not together.
Just popping marshmallows in randomly, and the
Randomly, I tell you, I got a hold of some really good gummy bears. The gummy bear game has really stepped up since the last time I had them. My son got some for Easter from somebody. I don't know who they're from, and he had opened up the package, and I like, they're going to go bad, right? He'd open them in a way that you weren't going to be able to close the package back. So I'm like, I'm going to finish these up. And I ate the first one. I was like, dang, these things are good, dude. They have really improved. I should be able to name the brand. I can't. But very soft. I'm sure, again, something else. I have no idea what they're made out of. They got to be terrible for you. Some version of gelatin probably that kills you slowly.
yeah,
But
yeah, it's
really,
everything.
I feel like they have improved the gummy bear game. And so gummy bears, I would push up on the rated list, and s'mores, I would push down.
Yeah, so your son, so okay, so my son is not the only one who opens every box or bag like a savage. Is that what you're saying?
No, dude, we've actually had conversations about this, especially the cereal boxes. Like he likes to take the whole entire bag of the cereal box. And instead of, I like to open up the bag inside the cereal box and kind of leave the bag inside the box so you got something that kind of protects you of some fallout as you're, turning it back down.
Yeah,
He likes to take the entire bag out, and then when he's done pouring them in, he'll kind of roll the bag back down and stuff it in the box, but doesn't close the lid. Now, the bag is, in theory and reality, it's protecting the cereal, but it's just a very sloppy operation that we have talked about, and we're trying to work to improve it as a 13-year-old.
have you thought about just removing the syrup and have like a whole separate container for?
It's too much work. We did that maybe when they were children. I've only got one that really consumes cereal now, which is my son. The rest, nobody else realizes it's just sugar and it's not great for breakfast. But we let him have that, and he eats his waffles and peanut butter, and he eats his Captain Crunch, peanut butter Captain Crunch, and he destroys the boxes every time. But no, we have not went to a separate container. He's got to learn this skill, this life skill. He's got some life skills he's got to pick up, and that's one of them. Hopefully, in the next 5 years or so, we can improve upon.
All right, so if you're the parent of a 12 or 13-year-old child out there as well, know that the struggle is real. Brian and I are also dealing with this. Just don't know how to open boxes or bag properly.
Yeah, just really, really
That's
poor
that's
operation.
I don't get upset about a lot, but a chip bag that's torn like down the middle where you can't
Yeah. Hey, we
can't
got some
seal it
other
back
things
up.
to talk about the chip bags. He does okay opening it, but instead of rolling it down from the top and then putting like a chip clip or a clothes peg or something on it, he twists it like it's the top of a garbage bag. Like I don't know. I've never taught him to do this, and I guess it kind of closes it, but he twists it. Like the Doritos, I come in for lunch today. I'm just gonna have some lunch and eat some Doritos with my sandwich. The bag is twisted like he's taking out the garbage. It's bizarre.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Well, hey,
So yeah, we got that's another thing we got to learn. We got box opening and bag closing. We've got to work on.
Oh man. All right. Well, maybe there's some sort of class you and I could just invent and put into our public and private schools, and
Very cool.
along with our coaching class. But anyway, thank you all for listening today. We appreciate it. Hey, make sure. Hey, we need some more ratings, man. We need some more ratings on all the podcast platforms, man. So get out there on Spotify, get there on Apple Pods, leave us a rating, leave us some comments. That goes a long way in helping us get new listeners. We'd appreciate that. So make sure hey, 5 stars only, baby. Come on, but leave us some ratings out there. We appreciate it.
Out, go Pack, go Tigers.